Fossil fuels need to be part of climate negotiations, the head of COP28 says. So which steps can the UN Climate Summit in Dubai actually agree on to limit global warming? We'll have expert analysis. Also coming up, we'll tell you why the insolvency of Austrian property and retail giant Signa has banks, employees and local governments on edge. And we'll go to Bangladesh, where workers of the country's most important export sector, the textile industry, are demanding a higher minimum wage. I'm Chris Kober. Welcome to the program. COP28 UN Climate Summit is underway in Dubai, and it has started with controversial words from the event's host. In his opening remarks, Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber said that fossil fuels must be part of any deal at the crucial negotiations on global warming. The two-week-long talks come at a pivotal moment, with emissions still rising. World leaders have been urged to move quicker to a clean energy future, with the world off track to keeping global temperatures rises below agreed levels. But this year's COP president chose a different tone to kick off the event. Take a listen.
I know there are strong views about the idea of including language on fossil fuels and renewables in the negotiated text. We collectively have the power to do something unprecedented. In fact, we have no choice but to go the very unconventional way. I ask you all to work together.
For more, let's bring in Claudia Kempfert. She's an energy expert at the German Institute for Economic Research. Welcome back to the program, Claudia. The head of the COP meeting says that the role of fossil fuels must be included in a deal at these UN climate talks. What do you make of that?
Well, this goes in the completely opposite direction that we should have. I mean, what we need is a fossil fuel phase out as soon as possible in order to reach a 1.5 Celsius global warming target, which we aim at. And this is not happening with this kind of statements. Obviously, there are interest conflicts with the COP president and the fossil fuel industry, and that should not happening at the climate conference. I hope that the countries will agree on an increase of renewable energy, but fossil fuel phase out would be the right direction.
Experts are saying this climate summit needs to set up specific guidelines as to the direction global climate protection needs to be going in the coming decade. What specifically are these guidelines?
Yeah, what we really need now is guidelines that we, on the one hand, increase, for example, the share of renewable energy, do more for energy saving, and also step-by-step phase out fossil fuels. And these kind of guidelines are needed. I mean, we need the national commitments in order to phase out fossil fuel subsidies, for example, go the way towards more renewables and provide the right policy measures for this. And all this needs to happen. And on the other hand, we see on a global scale that a lot of countries are suffering from climate change. They need financial aid, and this will be discussed at the conference as well.
Now, the UK government recently allowed for the first coal mine in the country to be opened up in the last 30 years. We see Germany moving away from Russian natural gas to liquefied natural gas from different suppliers. What do you make of the argument that some governments are more invested in fossil fuels than they should be in order to keep costs low and to be able to power the transition to an affordable, greener economy?
Yeah, that's really a pity. I mean, those step backs are really problematic because we are right now in the year 2023, and we should do everything we can do not to invest into fossil energy anymore, not in coal mines, not in liquefied natural gas, instead in renewable energy and energy efficiency. Otherwise, we will never reach the climate goal that we initiated and the Paris Agreement agreement we all committed to. And this is the completely wrong way, either in Germany, also UK, but in many other countries in the world. We have other options on the table which are cheaper. And these are the renewable energy. If we would invest into it, the whole cost system would decline, and we would have a lot of economic benefit out of it. And this is completely not understandable why those countries are deciding on it.
Claudia Kempfert of the German Institute for Economic Research there, and you can watch our entire conversation on the DW News YouTube channel. Now to some of the other global business stories making news. The economy of the Eurozone's second largest economy, France, contracted slightly in the third quarter. GDP growth ticked down 0.1% from July to September, according to official data. French authorities say the trend was due to slowing investments and falling exports. Eurozone inflation eased to a lower than expected 2.4% in November. On the year, consumer inflation rose at a slower pace as price pressure eased across nearly every sector. The latest data is closer to the European Central Bank's target inflation rate of 2% and raises hopes interest rates may have peaked. China's manufacturing activity contracted for a second straight month in November and at a quicker pace, while non-manufacturing activity hit yet another low for the year. This suggests the world's second biggest economy may need more expensive stimulus to shore up economic growth. Multi-billion euro property and retail giant Signa finally declared insolvency this week after desperate attempts to secure fresh funding failed, making it the biggest casualty so far of Europe's property downturn. Owned by Austrian tycoon René Benko, Signa's portfolio spanned Germany's best-known department store, Berlin's KaDeWe, to the country's top high street chain Galeria and the futuristic Elb Tower skyscraper project.
This super yacht belonging to businessman René Benko has just come on the market for nearly 40 million euros. The empire of the self-made billionaire from Austria has been crumbling for some time. Rising interest rates and falling property valuations have now led to the bankruptcy of Benko's Signa holding company. Construction on Hamburg's Elb Tower has come to a halt, another Signa project. The 950 million euro skyscraper was designed as a prestige project for the city, but builder Signa can no longer pay its bills. The rise of Signa began around the year 2000. At that time, Benko acquired numerous properties in desirable locations, at first in Austria and then internationally. Since 2019, the company has owned the iconic Chrysler Building in New York. Signa has also been active in retail since 2013, when Benko took over Germany's troubled department store chain Karstadt. Until recently, the group had stakes in retailers in Switzerland and the UK. While Benko is considered media shy, he maintains strong contacts in Austrian politics, and politicians there are now downplaying the effects of the company's bankruptcy.
It's important that the financial institutions remain stable. Then it will become interesting for Austria as a destination for investment, but it looks well balanced for now, and that's the most important thing in the situation.
Insolvency administrators now have a Herculean task to scrutinize the complex corporate network of René Benko.
To Bangladesh, and workers in the country's most important export sector, the textile industry, are demanding a higher minimum wage. They've demonstrated in the streets, attacked factories, fought with police and burned vehicles to press home their demands. At least 3 workers have been killed in clashes with security forces. Authorities have announced a 56% increase in the minimum wage, but workers say that's not enough. DW's Nahid Anjuman reports.
Angry garment workers have been protesting on the streets of Dhaka, Bangladesh, for the last couple of weeks. They are fighting for higher wages and feel let down by politicians. We've come to the streets so that the government solves the crisis and helps us survive. Taslima took part in the protests because she's worried about the nutrition and education of her children, as she can't match the living costs with her income. The price of everything has risen. We can't manage. The house rent has been increased. We're suffering. That's why we're demanding a minimum monthly wage of 23,000 takas. That's $210. More than 4 million people, mostly women, work in Bangladesh's ready-made garment industry, the country's main export sector. The minimum monthly wage garment workers earn is the lowest in the world. Because of inflation and skyrocketing costs of everyday goods, workers are struggling to make ends meet. Their wages barely cover living expenses for half a month. Bangladesh's garment factories generate nearly 85% of the country's exports, amounting to $55 billion annually. But factory owners say they can't do more.
COVID-19, the war in Ukraine and now in Gaza, these three factors have pushed the whole world into a recession. We see sales are down, so orders here are low too. So we formed a wage board and fixed the minimum monthly wage at about $115. A salary increase of 56% is no joke.
In this conflict, the workers don't receive any support from the government. Taslima does not understand why the state is taking action against workers like herself. She believes her demands are justified. We're only demanding better wages. We're not committing any crimes. We're not thieving or robbing. So why do they torture us? Unrest in the garment industry means unrest in the country's overall economy. It's unclear how the conflict will end, especially for the workers.
And here's a reminder of our top business story for you. The COP28 UN Climate Summit has started in Dubai, with world leaders holding crucial negotiations on global warming. There were controversial words from the event's host, Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber. He said that fossil fuels must be part of any deal at the summit. The two-week-long talks come at a pivotal moment with emissions still rising. That's our show. Thanks for watching. Have a successful day.